Hello everyone, it's Nathan Barber from No More Lost Leads, helping high value, low volume software and IT businesses generate marketing qualified leads in a predictable manner and convert inbound leads into paying customers. The title for this post is How to Build a Killer Sales and Marketing Organization for B2B Businesses. Now, um, I want to start this by saying that if you want to build a business that generates predictable pipeline for the sales team without going through that peaks and troughs of sort of revenue activity that we discussed in earlier posts, you need to sort of stick to your fundamentals and sort of really have really strong foundations. So the following are sort of 7 points that illustrate how to build that effective sales organization for your B2B proposition. The first point, and really sort of the one of the most important tenets in this is patience is virtue, and I'm sure this is something that you didn't want me to sort of say, or you didn't want to sort of hear me say, but you can't expect that you put in place a new demand generation strategy. You turn on the tap and sort of leads start being generated sort of overnight. To generate sort of a predictable, scalable demand generation approach that sort of is ingrained into the hierarchy of the organization, also the lifeblood of the organization, it takes at least 4 to 8 months or more, depending on sort of your internal resources of your organization. So to get a good lead generation program sort of ingrained into the culture of the organization, um, can take a long time from the point of view of actually first defining what that demand generation program looks like, making your first mistakes, fixing those mistakes, building pipeline, seeing revenue come through the pipeline, and ultimately sort of that becoming habitual. So that's the first thing that I would say. The second thing you need to do is sort of A/B test everything. You know what I mean? Split test everything that you do. So, try two different prospecting approaches. Try two different email approaches to that 50 contacts for your ideal customer profile, and then measure which ones perform better. So really, sort of measurement is key. So don't stick with one and assume that's the thing that's gonna win the battle. Um, and I guess that idea should be applied to everything that you do from a demand generation perspective. So test and see what works and what doesn't. The third point I've got here is don't do one-off projects, even though it might be tempting to sort of jump on the latest greatest bandwagon in demand generation and sort of run with a new approach. Unless it's something that can be sort of repeatable, don't take your eye off the ball by doing sort of one-time campaign activity to get um, quick payoffs. It's a distraction. It diverts you from your energy, from generating sort of sustainable results. Um, the other thing as well is stop using spreadsheets. You'd be surprised as to how many large or sort of mid-tier organizations, software and IT businesses that I sort of speak to that don't have some sort of CRM capability. So they're using sort of spreadsheets to hold their data, their prospect and client data. And it surprises me every single time. So the rule for your organization should be, if it's not in your CRM, it doesn't exist. So salespeople should only be compensated on deals and data that is in your CRM. Period. Right, and that's the only way that you can sort of measure the effectiveness of the program that you're running. So if your sales team use CRM in a very sporadic and sort of haphazard way, sometimes they want to input data, sometimes they don't input data. Um, it's very difficult to sort of use data in any sort of meaningful way to kind of inform future sales and marketing efforts. So really encouraging every single salesperson to be religious about using CRM is something that's sort of very, very important. The fifth thing is that everything needs to be systematically process driven. So, you know, what's your lead generation and sales process? You know, can you sketch it out simply on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard? If you can't do that, that's a problem. So, explain your process in 3 to 5 or 3 to 7 sort of high level steps. Um, and that's useful for sort of everyone sort of involved in the process, really. So I guess what you need to do is sort of start with the desired outcome of a process, um, and then almost look at, okay, so what does that process look like, um, from a desired outcome point of view. So what is the desired outcome that I want here? And is that function being done today on an ad hoc basis, or sort of are we doing it sort of predictably? So sketching it out is the first process to sort of bring some kind of order to the process, really, and thus bringing predictability, and getting that desired outcome that we all want. The sixth point here is really focus on results and not activities, and that's something that is a huge sort of mind shift, or sort of a paradigm shift for a lot of sort of antiquated sales and marketing organizations that I've come across in the past. So you know they track, you need to track things like the number of qualified opportunities that you generated per month. Um, and that's a much more meaningful sort of metric than the number of sales calls made per day. And that's something that still a lot of organizations are sort of doing. They're tracking, how many sales calls have you made, how many decision makers have you gotten in front of, how many pitches have you done. That stuff doesn't mean anything unless you're measuring, ultimately how many qualified opportunities have we actually generated a month, how much new pipeline have we brought into the funnel this month, how much closed new business have we actually sort of generated. Those are the three things ultimately that you need to sort of be measuring. And the last point here is track fewer but more important metrics. So technology nowadays sort of makes it very easy to go overboard in terms of like building reports and dashboards to say a lot about nothing. Um, so, you need to work with your team to sort of prioritize metrics. So I've listed here sort of the five most important metrics, and those things are, number one, the number of new leads generated a month, the number of qualified opportunities a month, your percentage conversion rate, total bookings or revenue, your percentage sort of win rates or conversion rates, in terms of closed deals. So I hope that's interesting for you and sort of just gave you, a little bit of food for thought in terms of actually what sort of things are important to measure and what's not important to measure in terms of actually building, a sales team that um, sort of sees or has an ingrained philosophy. So no matter what other salespeople you sort of bring on in the future, or even sort of without your involvement, there's this culture, or there's this process that every single person that's brought on into the organization sort of feeds into. So I hope that's useful for you. Let me know what you think, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers, bye.